Hi, Amber. I'm out. I'm going to take a little drive. Thought I'd take you with me. It's been windy the last couple of days, really windy today, so we'll see what it looks like out there and take a look at that. Oh, I hit the back. Actually, just the back tires. Yeah, it says I'm going to hit the front, but I'm not. All right, let's flip it around. All right, I was going to tell you the story. I started it a while back, and then I never finished it. And anyway, let's get going on the story. Back about 1985, 84, 85, I was doing leadership at the junior high school I was at. And, you have to do fundraisers and stuff. We used to do this thing called penny in the jar. And what it was, you'd have these big Arrowhead or Sparklets water bottles, the big 5-gallon ones, and then you'd put them out and you'd let kids put pennies in them. And then the jars with the most pennies, those were the ones that whoever had it, whatever grade level, had won the pennies in the jar, and so they'd get some, treat of some sort for winning it. Anyway, explaining pennies in the jar a little more. If you wanted to mess up in other grades, you could put nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars even in the jars, and of course that would subtract from the amount of pennies that were being put in the jars. So you got the idea of what was going on. Anyway, one day it happened, we were finished with it, and we were trying to figure out how we wanted to get the money counted. So I contacted Brinks Armored Car Service, because they handle money and they had money counting machines and so forth, and called up and see if they would count our pennies for us, if they would do that, donate that service to us. Because we had probably 10, 15 of these jars eventually full of pennies and dimes and nickels and quarters and dollars. So I found out that they would, and loaded it all in. I had a small pickup truck at the time. It was I had a shell on it, so it was covered. And I headed downtown right about here, and where I am, and was driving along. And they told me what the address was, and of course I'm looking for the address, and driving along, looking, and nothing's looking like a armored service or whatever I was expecting. And finally came across the building where they said they were, and I'm looking for it right now, by the way, because I haven't been here for a while. And well, there's a Brinks truck right there. Oh, and there's one pulling in. I don't know if you can see him over there pulling in, backing in. That's where I backed in. So that was the building, and that was the door I backed into. And anyway, I got out of the truck, and I had to go up to the gate and, push a buzzer, and they finally asked me who I was. And, I went into this armored room, and, there were people behind bulletproof glass, and I said who I was and what I was there for. And so they told me to go ahead and bring my truck in, and so they opened the gate for me. And I drove my truck in, and they had told me to just back up to the first door, so I backed up to the first door. And then the door opened, and I could see someone waving me to come back in. And so I started back into the warehouse. Well, I had no idea what to expect, because I'd never been to a armored car place or a place like this. So it was kind of a new thing. But as I'm backing in, it's light outside, sunny like it is today, and then I'm backing in, and it's, of course, dark inside. And so as I get in and I look, in my mirror, here are these guys standing on either side of my truck with shotguns. And, you know, it's like, what? And I'm taken aback because, you know, it was never something I would have expected. And so as I get in, there's a guy there, and he told me just to stay in the car, you know, and he's got a gun. And there's about 4 guys now around the truck. And they opened up the back and saw all the money bottles in there. And then they decided that I could get out. And so he told me I could get out. And so it was just an interesting thing. And, you know, they were starting to move the bottles of money. And I said, you know, I can help you do that. I said, no, we'll do it all. You just stand over there. I guess they didn't trust me. So anyway, I just wanted to share that little story with you. That was my going to Brinks Armored Service to have pennies in the jars counted, and was kind of an interesting experience for me. You know, most of us don't expect to be backing into a garage and have these armed guys with handguns and shotguns and AR-15 standing around looking at you like they're ready to shoot and kill you. But I guess, you know, when you work in that kind of an environment, you know, that's what you do to make sure you're safe, because how would they know who I was and what I was actually bringing in? And maybe I had a truckload of gangsters in the back that were ready to rob them. I don't know. So anyway, it was a little shocker. And a few days later, I went back to get the money, and so I was more accustomed to it, and they knew who I was. So yeah, they were still there armed with shotguns and automatic rifles as I backed my truck in to get all the coins tossed in the back in baggies. You know, they filled up canvas sacks with them. Wow, the traffic is like a bunch of morons out today, my gosh. Anyway, I just wanted to share that story. That was one of the fun ones. Experiences in life where, you know, things just, you never expect it. Bam, something totally different. And that was my lifetime ago when I was a leadership advisor. I did that for 2 or 3 years and then gave that up because it was ate up all your time. You were always gone doing that. You're always having to think of things. And they didn't pay enough money for that back then. I don't know if they pay enough money for that now, but back then, definitely not. And we did penny in the jar a couple of more times, but one time we tried to do it count the money at the Bank of Redlands, which I don't know even if it exists anymore. It's in their building that they had there, downtown Redlands, and they let us into a money counting machine, and the machine kept jamming, and I had like 4 leadership kids with me, and we just kept feeding money into these machines. It kept jamming, and I don't know if we ever got through all of the bottles and bags of money that we had. That was a nightmare trying to get all that money counted that year. Another time we decided we would just weigh the money, and then we would figure out how much a pound of pennies was, and then we would count the silver. So we sorted all the money. I had a big table in my shop. It was like 10, 12 feet long and 5 feet wide, and we would dump bottles out. We would sort the money out, pull out all the silver, separate the silver, put the coins, the pennies back into bags or jars, whatever it was we were using, weigh those, and then subtract, figure out how many pennies that estimate was, and then take the silver away. And I swear that was the easiest and probably the fastest way to do it. Funny thing is that these tables that we worked on, the tables had lockers underneath, and years later when I was tearing apart these tables, I found a couple of coffee cans full of pennies that were left behind that somehow got stuck in these lockers for whatever reason. And that was kind of funny because it was like a flashback to this nightmare counting all these coins. Anyway, that was my penny in the jar and going to Brinks story. Well, I love you. I'll let you go with that exciting story I told you. And I'll chat with you later. Bye-bye.